on creating authentic partnerships with forward-thinking companies who are willing to invest in the future and believe that together we can really make a change. These are companies like Qualcomm, who are an investor but also use the platform to demonstrate wireless charging technologies, Michelin, who continue to develop more and more efficient tires for the series, and ABB, title sponsor of the series, but also a leader when it comes to electric vehicle charging solutions. But first of all, I think it's important that we understand why Formula E exists, why it is so relevant in today's society, and how we believe that we can help shape the future. Transportation is one of the main contributors to air pollution in urban areas. And with carbon emissions reaching levels that are no longer sustainable, we need to make electric mobility a global reality. Whilst key players have already identified the need for the shift, such as manufacturers and cities, the transition could only take place with significant investments in R&D to improve the technology and the infrastructure, but it also requires changing the perception that people have around electric vehicles and raising awareness amongst the next generation of consumers. Back in 2012, my father called me because he wanted me to consider a career change. He had met with our CEO and founder, Alejandro Agag, who'd explained to him that he'd come up with a new concept over dinner with Jean Todt in Paris, specifically to address the issues that I've just mentioned. The new concept was a fully electric racing series that would take place in the hearts of the world's leading cities. Like many other people, I was pretty skeptical back at the time, but clearly I was wrong, or we wouldn't be here waiting for our 40th race or 7th race of our 4th season. The truth is, Formula E is a game changer. We've managed to create a dynamic and global brand representing the future of sustainability, sports, and entertainment. As our CEO would like to say, when we first started, we had nothing. Now we bring exciting track action in the hearts of cities such as New York, Hong Kong, Paris, and tomorrow, Rome. By the end of this season, we would have hosted 45 races in 19 different cities. We have huge support from the cities, 13 amazing global partners, 11 manufacturers, which is the most that has ever been seen in any motorsport series, and a fan base that continues to grow at an unprecedented rate. But why are we here today? Is that Formula E is not only about the racing. Formula E is a global platform to develop and test the next generation of automotive technologies. How would I put this? Through competition, we push the boundaries of electric vehicle technology. We can accelerate the pace of EV development and promote the adoption of electric vehicles globally. Just last month, we revealed the next generation, the Gen 2 car, which is the one you can see on all of our screens. It's not only really nice to look at, but it also, with almost double the energy storage and double the range, it allows for drivers and teams to be able to complete a whole race without swapping cars in between. This is clear proof of the advancements that we have made in battery and electric motor technology in the space of only 4 years. And it is this same technology that we're developing for our race cars that we will see in our road cars in the near future. So for anyone who thinks electric cars are slow, they're not sexy, they're inconvenient, sit down, hold tight, and watch it happen. So if you have time, as Greg mentioned, after the talk, if you guys have time, come with us, we'll do a demo tour, and it'll bring this idea to life of how we all come together to be able to have an impact on what our road cars are going to look like in the years to come.
Thank you very much, Blake. It's actually been my honour and pleasure of knowing Blake since the very beginning. Qualcomm was one of the very first partners to be part of the Formula E family. And I remember the very first meeting we ever had, there was 3 partners and 3 people from Formula E. There were 6 of us in a restaurant in Barcelona. And that's where we all started thinking about the stories and the visions and how we could then bring technologies from the various different partners and also all the work that was going on to really bring the Formula E vision to the streets that we all want to watch being raced on. And, as Blake says, here we are now in Rome, beautiful city, first time, but hopefully not the last time. And it's been a fantastic journey for us all. And Qualcomm is really privileged and honoured to be part of that journey. And I remember many a story along that route. And one of the best I think that I can share today was one of those early meetings back in 2012 when we were looking at what we were doing. We were planning for the first race. It was probably about 12 weeks away in Beijing in China. And somebody said, what are we going to use for safety cars? Because we kind of need safety cars. And then we had this realization that, of course, we're doing an electric motor racing series. Those safety cars are going to have to be electric vehicles or a plug-in hybrid, some form of vehicle that also represents the vision of what we're trying to do. But 5 years ago, there wasn't a great choice of what you could have. We wanted to show people that electric vehicles were here, and then we had this realization that we were at the cusp of it, the start of it. Luckily, our friends at BMW had 2 beautiful vehicles. BMW i8, which then became the safety car, and the i3, a very workable 4-seater little vehicle that is a perfect town car, but has proven itself in Formula E to be a perfect vehicle for driving 4 medical guys in full safety equipment with all their rescue equipment around the circuit if we ever need to call upon it. So we just, BMW came in and said, we'll provide the vehicle, and it was fantastic. And then we had another moment where we suddenly thought, what about that plug-in? What about if it gets stuck? What about when the vehicle is dispatched? We can't send the vehicle out immediately. It's on television. I don't know how many people drive an electric vehicle. I've driven an EV for years. I became a true believer and actually changed my own life to become an EV driver. And I know that that Type 2 connector that we have in the UK is actually alive. Every time it rains, and it rains a lot in the UK, and I go and try and remove it in a hurry, it gets stuck. And I stand there locking my car and unlocking my car and pulling it. And the great thing is Qualcomm has a fantastic technology for wirelessly charging electric vehicles. And I said to Alejandro at this meeting, well, we could wirelessly charge the vehicles. And he said, how does that work? And I said, well, the idea is you don't have a plug-in, you park over a pad, the vehicle charges itself automatically, and then when the safety car driver has to be dispatched, he can just immediately go, and then he does his work on the track and comes back, and then immediately starts charging again. And Alejandro said to me, he said, we want that on all the safety cars now. I said to him, I said, well, it's great, but the race is now in 5 weeks' time in Beijing. And we haven't even seen the BMW i8s yet. They're preparing them. And he said, I don't care, make it happen. And that's something he does to us a lot, make it happen. And that's the vision of Alejandro that made Formula E happen. And we did make it happen. Those safety cars were wirelessly charged for the very first race. And they have been wirelessly charged ever since. So we managed to get some systems on those cars. We then could facilitate the wireless charging, and we've demonstrated it to hundreds of people over the time. And then as the years have gone by, BMW have increased and changed the BMW. They've made it with bigger battery, they've increased the motors on it, they've made it a little bit more sporty, and we've put bigger wireless charging on there. Bigger as in more powerful, it transmits more energy, but it's actually smaller than the actual wireless charging we put on in the early days. So we've used it as a research program to allow us to continue that evolution of our wireless charging, such that we're now taking it to the OEMs and the manufacturers. And if you've got some time, come and have a look at it on the safety cars. But there's something else Qualcomm does that is really quite interesting within Formula E. And one thing coming from an innovation background is innovation is really fantastic when it's invisible, but it makes all our lives invisible. I would imagine every one of us in this room, and in fact I can see it now, has a smartphone in their hand. That's what Qualcomm's known for, smartphone technology, enabling the technology that goes into that smartphone, but also enabling all the ecosystem and the mobile operator networks that sit around those as well. Ever since halfway through season 2, when we realized that one of the things Formula E was doing was bringing a large number of people together in a very, very dense, small environment, the mobile networks were struggling to support what people wanted to do. One of the things Alejandro had said to me at the very beginning of this was, Qualcomm will teach me how people will use a mobile phone to interact with my sport. And we realized that maybe not all the mobile network operators' networks in the areas where we were doing the race could handle the vast number of people that were wanting to interact with the device. So Qualcomm stepped up. One of the things we have is an engineering group whose sole job is to work on mobile operator networks to make them better, make them more reactive to large numbers of people for events. So ever since halfway through season 2, we have, for months prior to the network, worked with the operators to ensure that we understand what their network looks like in the area of the race. We then look at redesign services so that they redesign the networks, bring extra capacity in if they need to, so bring temporary sites in or reposition their sites that already exist, such that we can all sit and make a telephone call, send a tweet, send a Twitter, and we continue to do that, and we'll continue to work with Formula E to do that. One of the things that has enabled Qualcomm to really work well with is all that research into next generation radios. You know, a lot of people talk about 5G and Internet of Things and those technologies, but it's understanding how, if you take Internet of Things, how you take thousands of devices that we expect to see in our inner cities and how they all communicate with each other, how the interference and how those devices work. And then when you go to 5G and the new radio type of environment, how you then create massive pipes for communications and large amounts of bandwidth. And then you look towards what is emerging as the next mobile device, the vehicle, how those vehicles communicate. So all the work we do with Formula E making the experience and the event much better for the fans actually bleeds itself all into our research that we do for all the next generation radios. So yeah, one of those things that's completely invisible, makes everybody's life easier and better, and makes your interaction with the event a lot more experienced. I'd like to now hand over to Frank, and maybe you could talk about some of the ABB work.
So thank you, Graham, for handing over. I think it's nice what Qualcomm is doing there, from making life easier on the inductive side and on the communication side. Where we stand for is basically running the planet without consuming the Earth. So this is a bit our slogan, and we look at it from a pitch of really from the power plant where the energy is generated down to the point of use, down to the plug, if you want to say. And this is our pitch and how we look at it. And so it's just natural that if electric energy now is also used more by cars, and this is a great thing for the planet, so that we are also there to provide the right solution to charge those vehicles. And now there is different cases, different use cases on how you can do this. So one use case, as described by Graham nicely, is the one doing that inductively. Being a typical home charge solution, for example, or for the safety car. So there's a lot of nice use cases around that. The other use case where we really look into from ABB's perspective is more towards the high power and fast charge perspective. Because what we also need to have, if you drive an electric vehicle, it's, of course, you have to charge at home or at your destination. That's the most comfortable way of doing it, but you also have ranges to cover. And if you have to cover ranges, you need a bit larger batteries, and that's the trend, at least to go away from 30 kilowatt batteries more to 60 kilowatt hour batteries as a standard. Larger cars, 90 kilowatt hour batteries, coming to ranges like 400 kilometers, 500 kilometers, so that's about what we see. And then if you want to cover a range, if you want to charge on the highway, or if you do not have access to your own charging point because you live in a multi-family building or whatever, so you want to have a fast charge. So just like you fuel your car today, our vision is to do that as fast with an EV than you do it with a gasoline car. So that's the idea. So in order to do that, there is simply one logic. We have to increase the level of power we put into the car, and at the same time, and this is what we call high power charging. So we have a complete range. I mean, we have a complete range in charging from 3 kilowatt up to now 350 kilowatt, or for buses or trucks even up to 600 kilowatts. So that's really that's a lot of power. And the bread and butter, what you see right now, and what is more and more coming, is actually charging stations around 50 kilowatt, which is good enough. 50 kilowatt is good for normal charge, it's good for multi-family buildings, it's good for neighborhood buildings, because a 50 kilowatt DC fast charger enables you to charge, let's say, another, I would say, 100 kilometers of reach, maybe in 20 minutes or so. That's or 20, 30 minutes. However, if the batteries become larger, if the distances get larger, and you do not want to wait that long, and you want to recharge 300 kilometers faster, so we now bring to the market a 350 kilowatt charger, which enables you to actually recharge your vehicle for another 350 kilometers of reach in about 12 minutes. And I think that is significant, because that is 12 minutes. How long do you normally refuel the car? When you stand there, maybe 2 minutes, okay, so there is still 10 more minutes, but 10 more minutes, I mean, we're in Italy, right? 1 espresso, 2 espressi, fine, but then you're done, yeah, not more, you're done. And so this is really a big innovation, I would say, and it is really helping to drive e-mobility forward, because it's taking away the anxiety for range, or the inconvenience of standing somewhere for an hour to get the battery filled up. And of course, we're at the beginning, like all Formula E is at the beginning, the whole industry is at the beginning, so there is still a lot more to do, but this is, I think this is great stuff, and we're really at the forefront of this. To loop in a bit, of course, these chargers, they are out there somewhere, they need to be connected as well, so they're all cloud connected, they can be monitored via the cloud, have a good uptime, best in the industry as we see it. And yeah, we have that globally, available globally. So this is also one of the reasons why we said teaming up actually with Formula E is a great thing, because the philosophy behind this is really the same. It's this running the world without consuming the earth. I think this is what is behind, and this is really what we support also with that technology. So I think it goes handy together, and we're in a great spot here, and I'd like to see that really rolling out further.
Thank you, Frank. So we are here in this beautiful city of Roma. There will be a race tomorrow, so it's a very important event because of the show, because there will be a winner, but also because we are developing, we are creating the mobility of tomorrow. How is it possible? Just let's go back more than 1 century back. 1891, the two Michelin brothers, who were the founders of the company, they had 2 ideas. The first idea was to create a dismountable tire for bicycle. Until now, the tires were linked to the rims, which makes the change very difficult. That was the first idea. And the second idea was to participate, to put that technology in a race, the Paris-Brest-Paris, to showcase, to demonstrate how this technology was innovative, how it was efficient, and what was the benefit for the end customer. So that was a demonstration that the race can be used to promote new technologies. Today, we are still using competition to promote technologies. We are also using competitions to develop, to test, to accelerate innovation. For Michelin, it's really important to participate to championships, to races. That makes sense, but that makes sense for the mobility of tomorrow. That makes sense for our end customers. For example, today we are in different championships all over the world, like World Endurance Championship, WRC, MotoGP, and and of course, Formula E. Endurance Championship, we will develop, that will help us to accelerate the development of our tires in terms of longevity, in terms of polyvalence. WRC, we will develop new technology for the robustness of the tires for countries where the roads are in a very bad conditions. MotoGP, of course, that will help us to develop better tires for motorcycles. And Formula E is a very typical illustration of how a competition can help to develop better mobility. The idea of Alejandro Agag and Jean Todt, when they created this championship, was clearly to have a laboratory for the electric mobility, which is one solution of mobility for the cities. So of course for Michelin it was a no-brainer decision to propose solutions for that championship, and we were really more than happy to be selected to be the tire official supplier of the Formula E Championship. We were also the first partner announced in 2013. So we were a founding partner, because for us it was clearly a really very important and also very efficient laboratory for the mobility of the future. For that championship we have developed a unique tire. Unique because it's, I would say, it's a very special tire in the field of racing tires, but also because it's perhaps the best illustration of the link we can have between a race and between the normal life. You will be able to discover exactly what does it mean, because during the garage visit you will be able to see the Formula E tires and to see how it looks like a street tires. Or when we decided to propose solutions to Formula E, our will was to create a tire that showcases this link between race and street, but also that help us to include, to test new technologies we want to put in street tires at the end. So it looks like a street tires, also because it's a all-weather tire for race, which is a big innovation in such competitions, to have only one tire for all conditions. It's just amazing. When we revealed it, a lot of people in the field of motorsport say, why have you do that, and how? The why is because it's close to the normal life. In normal life you don't change tire when it starts to rain, hopefully. And also because it's it's one way for a tire to be efficient. To be efficient, a tire needs to need less energy to make the car run. So we reduce a lot the rolling resistance on such tires. The rolling resistance is the energy consumption when the car is running. And you have to know that on a car there is between 20 and 25% of the consumption, energy consumption, just due to the tire, due to the tire deflections. That's why it's really important for us to work on such topics. And the Formula E tire is clearly in advance in terms of rolling resistance. But also the fact that we have an all-weather tire means that we have to develop, we have to transport, we have to produce and we have to transport only one type, which is a big benefit for the championship, because we don't have to bring rain tires, mainly for nothing. And all the other championship, the driver can choose between different type of specifications. For the dry conditions, for the wet conditions. In Formula E, with only one type, it's a big gain, it's a big benefit for the championship in terms of environmental footprint, because we have to bring much less tire for each races. So it's really important for the championship itself, but the technology we have to develop, we have to include in such tires. When we put in street tires, the benefits is much more higher, because we will gain energy consumption for all the cars running in the world with such tires. So it's an example of how competition race will help us to develop more efficient tires in the future. To achieve this, so we need to be involved in competitions that make sense, and that's the case also for Formula E. And we need to have a challenge. What is interesting in competitions is that we need to be quick. We need to provide technology very fast to have extreme performances, develop in extreme conditions. We have a very quick feedback, and this is possible when we have a competitor or when we have rules that give us such challenges. And that's the case, for example, in Formula E, because with one type, there is rules that limit the number of tires. That means that for Michelin engineers, we need to be very efficient also in the way we design the new tires. And these technologies will be very helpful for the tires of tomorrow, for your cars. So for Michelin, it's clearly a no-brainer to be involved in competition. We choose all the competition we are involved in with that in mind. We need to be able to use the technologies for the races. We need to be able to also use them in the street tires. And we are also involved in not only supplying tires, but we are clearly thinking about the mobility of the future. That's why we created some events like Michelin Challenge Bivendum, which is now moving on, to showcase, but also to share, to demonstrate and to accelerate innovation in the field of the sustainable mobility. So clearly for Michelin, it's more than important, it's essential to be involved in competition, because it's clearly for us the lab that helps us to develop the mobility of tomorrow.